live.
All right. Let's see how this works. Got some updated streaming platform. I'm just saying words. I don't know what they mean.
You don't. So welcome. My name's Noah. I'm an alcoholic.
My name's Gabe. I'm a codependent and an alcoholic. I get 2 titles.
Well, we don't all get as many titles as you, Gabriel.
Sorry.
Princess as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Queen Gabe.
Okay, so what are we doing? How do we do this?
I think
start
we'll
off with the
yeah.
serenity prayer.
Yeah.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. If you haven't learned that, maybe you should.
Just watch us a few more times. It'll be stuck in your head.
I'm feeling a little spicy today. Let's see. Let's go to... Look at that.
Hey,
right?
You didn't have to resize it. All right.
Pretty good. Day's gonna go good, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Bend with the wind. Page 265. We learn to become flexible. As new things are revealed, we feel renewed. Flexibility was not a part of the vocabulary we used in our using days. We'd become obsessed with the raw pleasure of our drugs and hardened to all the softer, subtler, more infinitely varied pleasures of the world around us. Our disease had turned life itself into a constant threat of jails, institutions, and death, a threat against which we hardened ourselves all the more. In the end, we became brittle with the merest breath of life's wind. We crumbled at last, broken, defeated, with no choice but to surrender. But the beautiful irony of recovery is that in our surrender, we found the flexibility we had lost in our addiction, the very lack of which had defeated us. We regained the ability to bend in life's breeze without breaking. When the wind blew, we felt its loving caress against our skin, where once we would have hardened ourselves as if against the onrush of a storm. The winds of life blow new airs our way each moment, and with them new fragrances, new pleasures, varied, subtly different. As we bend with life's wind, we feel and hear and touch and smell and taste all it has to offer us, and as new winds blow, we feel renewed. Just for today, higher power, help me bend with life's wind and glory in its passing. Free me from
rigidity.
Okay. What do you think of that, man?
I think it was good. For one thing, I noticed for the first time when you read that it's September 11th. So that always, makes me a little sad and just reflective, on that time in our country's history and all the loss and I try to remember to pray for continued healing and safety in our country, but I like the reading, bending with the wind. What's funny is as you were reading it, I kept for some reason reading it as bond with the wind, and I almost really like that because it's more relational, which I'm like very relational, but the idea that, we're in cooperation with the flow of life, all the things that are happening, the things that come to us, the things that we lose, the opportunities that are introduced to us. I like feeling that, that I'm part of that wind, that I don't just have to flex with what comes along, although I certainly do if it's unexpected, but just kind of the new feeling that, life is not out to get me.
Right.
That, things come up so that I can embrace them and make choices and grow and meld with my surroundings.
Hmm. I think I had a little bit of a problem this morning with the whole flexibility, and because I kind of had already set up a thing in my mind, and that kind of, I don't know, those old patterns of like trying to do everything my way. It's really hard to get rid of those and to go with the flow, and you really have to be in the right mindset, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm guessing this is more for uh, almost like tougher stuff, the flexibility of us not really having a job right now, not like,
Mm-hmm.
not things, smaller things that we actually can control.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I think it applies to whatever, whatever it speaks to you about is what it
Right.
applies to, because yeah, there's big things in life, when, um, like we get sick, we get in an accident, people we love die. I mean, these things, we have no choice but to be flexible. They're non-negotiable and completely out of our control. Um, and then there are the little things like, you know, what are we going to have for lunch today? And, do I want to be flexible and open to possibilities, or do I feel stubborn like I want a grilled cheese and nobody's going to tell me different? I'm going to have a grilled cheese. It can be applied across the board. Um,
Right.
but I agree, it's difficult, especially if there's like my counselor would call it like a disturbance in the force. Like if I'm already feeling agitated or just moody or depressed or whatever, then that's when it becomes harder for me to be flexible, um, to be open to possibilities, to accept that, like, hey, this new thing that came along that, Noah just brought to me or my kids did might actually be better than what I was thinking. Um, Sometimes it's really hard to get there.
Yeah, I agree. What?
Just smiling at you,
Yeah,
loving you.
thanks.
Do you have other thoughts on that reading?
Pull it back up.
Or thoughts in general, I guess.
I definitely found more flexibility. I can say that than I used to.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you agree?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
More open to going places.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, more open to new experiences and
Not being so controlled.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Definitely think that. I mean, it's a work in progress, and something that, like, I know you work on and I work on seeing, and appreciating.
Yeah.
Um, I was thinking about like the brittle part of it, like being really like controlled and rigid in addiction. Um, what do you think about that?
That what?
Like the rigid part, the part it was talking about being brittle, um, or controlled, like in addiction. What do you think about that? Like I don't know. Like, how accurate is it? What's the worst part? Like,
Being controlled. I mean, you think you're free. but you really aren't. You really are controlled by that substance. And yet you try to make it feel like you're controlled by the other people around you. And it's like it's like a big twist, I guess. You try to twist it around to that the addiction really isn't the problem, that it's like, oh, the people around you from keeping you from doing what you want to do. And what do you want to do?
Right. So that's like denial, right? Like the mind game of it, you know? Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that. And I think it's almost like easy to live there, at least for like a period of time, you know, because we can lie to ourselves, you know, we can tell ourselves stories, and then we can tell other people's stories, and I mean, they have no choice but to accept the stories, you know, like what else are they gonna do? But I don't know. I mean, ultimately it fails, right? The like whatever it said in the reading, when we have to surrender, when it's like that final straw, you know, that just cracks the whole illusion. That's really hard.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not being very eloquent today. I'm very well spoken.
Better than me.
A little tired.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what else? Anything you want to bring to the table that, you know, aside from the reading?
No. I guess these past few days, I was just kind of realizing that before it was like, oh man, I made it a whole year being sober, and now it's like it's like only been a year, you know. It's like, gosh, it's only been a year. Like a year and a half ago, I was still using. It's like, it's crazy to think about.
Yeah, it does that to me too. The timeline thing.
For my athletic performance, I'm thinking, why am I not like the best? It's like, you've only been sober for a year and 2 months. It's
right. Right.
And during that time, you were trying to figure everything out, you know, what you could and couldn't do.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's a lot of rebuilding, right? And like experimentation, you know.
Going with the wind.
Right. Right. Like, what is my life going to be now, you know? Right. Letting things come to you, and then also, you know, taking steps towards things that you want. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. I agree.
But I mean, the payoff is good, you know, because in addiction there are no choices. There's only one single goal. But it never goes anywhere, you know. There's no payoff. So I think sometimes it is uncomfortable to be like presently living, which I would consider the opposite of addiction. It's just like living my life right here, right now, in a state of awareness of who I am, what I'm doing, and everything that's happening around me.
Sometimes it's like gives me anxiety, like, like every movement.
It can be very anxiety producing, but the payoff, I'm saying, like, you can actually, you know, be aware of choices and moods, and, you know, what do I actually want to do with this moment or this day or this week? I have a lot of options, you know, and it's so powerful but scary, you know, if we're not used to that. If we're used to all of our choices being made for us by addiction or other people or whatever. So I just pray to be brave so I can reap those benefits.
Yeah.
Got anything else?
Mm-mm.
All right. I should wrap it up then.
Okay.
So as you can see, our streaming schedule is not incredibly steady. We'll try to work on that, but we have a baby coming in 4 months and a fitness business that we're working on. So we're going with the flow. We're bending with the wind, right? And we hope that you'll bend with us. But if there's any topics that you'd like addressed, definitely send us a message. Or if you'd like to join us live, feel free to drop us a message and say, hey, when are you dorks going to be on again so that I can come join you? And we will let you know.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Alrighty. Hopefully you have a awesome weekend. I don't think we'll be streaming
Probably not, yeah.
for the rest of the week. Hopefully next week.
Mm-hmm.
So have an awesome week. Stay sober.
Peace out.